Welcome to the ultimate PC build for high refresh rate ultra-wide gaming. Priced at just over $2,000, this machine not only looks incredible, but it can power through the latest titles at ultra settings, RTX on, all without breaking a sweat. The thing that is really cool about this build though is that it was all put together for a friend of mine. His name is Carl, he currently streams on Xbox, but he wanted to get into PC gaming and do it in style. So we put together a list of parts, got the thing built, and let's just say it does everything he wants with just a little bit of room to spare. Now our first component is the motherboard, and I suggested picking up the Asus Prime Z390-A, as it's right in the middle of the price performance sweet spot, and it actually goes for the white sort of colour scheme that I really wanted to use as a base for this system. Now I actually barely use any of the gaming features on my own ROG board, and as Carl's not going to be a big overclocker, the feature set here made a lot of sense, as it supports dual M.2 drives, plenty of case fans, and even a little bit of RGB. But the main reason we're actually looking at a Z390 board is of course to support our processor, the Core i9-9900K. Now we definitely could have saved ourselves a good couple of $100 if we'd gone with Ryzen, and for a lot of people this would make a lot of sense. But in terms of pure performance, you really can't beat the 8-core i9 for gaming frame rates, especially when we start streaming the most intensive games out there, like Battlefield 5, as well as anything that's to actually come in the future. So while this definitely won't be worth it for everyone, Carl opted for Intel, and I think he's going to be very happy with his choice, and all things considered, I think I would agree with him. Turning to the cooling side of things, I definitely think this is where we get a little bit controversial, as this is definitely going to be quite love it or quite hate it. Now I first used the Darkrock Pro 4 in a sponsored project with Be Quiet last year, and the thing that really blew me away, if you excuse the pun, was just how quiet the whole thing is. I'm used to using quite bright, low profile liquid coolers, but there really isn't that much reason to when you can save yourself money and get lower level acoustics. This thing is around about £65 and it really does perform. The main downside is the sheer size, which will be quite restrictive in some cases and just a bit ugly in others. I am brightening up the system with Corsair's Vengeance Pro RGB RAM, but you should be aware that the first slot on this board actually gets blocked off when you're using the cooler, so you'd really only have a maximum of 3 slots available without using low profile memory. We're using 16GB of the RGB stuff running at 3200 MHz, and this is a great way to let the CPU stretch its legs while avoiding any RAM bottlenecks in video games. The colour also matches the rest of our black and white theme, while allowing for some next level effects when using Corsair's iCUE. Now graphics card wise, my advice is pretty much always to not get your heart set on one particular brand or model. It's when you come to actually buy the graphics card, see what's cheapest, see what's going to give you the best price performance, and then go with that. And in this case, it was actually quite a nice bit of timing, because Gigabyte had a white edition of their 2080 OC edition available for a very reasonable price. The white theme definitely makes this card stand out from the crowd, while the pre-overclocked GPU packs a serious punch. We're talking max settings across the board at all but 4K resolution, and even then, a lot of lighter titles would run absolutely fine. There's also access to Nvidia's somewhat controversial RTX suite, with DLSS and ray tracing taking a rather small amount of games to a whole new chapter of visuals, but maybe that's a book for another day. In terms of raw performance though, the 2080 is really a very sensible choice if you're wanting to go for super high-end gaming, but without killing price performance entirely with a 2080 Ti. But while graphics cards are getting more and more expensive every single year, it's really nice to see that the opposite is happening with storage. And it's nice to see just how cheap SSDs have become, with M.2 drives finally hitting prices that are almost accessible to everyone. As Carl is still quite new to PC gaming, we're starting him out with 500GB of the Samsung 970 Evo Plus, which acts as a stupidly fast boot drive, as well as a turbocharged game drive for things like Fortnite, Apex and Battlefield. But once it's full, I've also left a spare SATA cable connected, and then Carl can easily plop in a larger 2.5-inch SSD for his mass storage. But as for the power supply, it's pretty much business as usual. We don't need a huge amount of wattage, we don't need something super fancy, we just want something that's modular, quiet, and is going to last for years to come. Enter Corsair's RMI 850. And this is a power supply I've used time and time again. And as such, it was very easy to recommend, as the design isn't overly long, it's fanless when running lower loads, and you can upgrade the cables at a later date for an even cleaner look. 850 watts would definitely be cutting it very fine if we were running 2 cards in SLI, but the likely expansion is just going to be storage and maybe a capture card. So really, this should just be the ticket. But I have to say that my absolute favourite component in this entire build is definitely the case, as it is absolutely beautiful, and along with the RGB lighting, it was really helpfully provided by Overclockers UK. It's called the Evolv X, and it's the updated version of the original Evolv that I declared my absolute favourite case only a few years ago. I've always seen it as almost the fusing of like a Apple Mac material styling, but then with the tempered glass RGB flair that you get with PC gaming. It's just fantastic, with vastly improved airflow to before, USB Type-C on the front, and then a fancy RGB lighting system that's sure to turn a few heads. Overclockers actually expanded this with 3 Halo kits for the included fans to turn them into RGB fans, as well as a Phanteks RGB starter kit, which adds strip lighting to the internals. And the benefit to all of this is that you can actually control the whole system with a button on the front of the case. You can then cycle through different colours, different effects, all of that usual jazz, but you should be aware in the exact configuration we're using, the motherboard doesn't actually support addressable RGB, so you can't sync the motherboard to the case lighting. But if you're just going to use rainbow effects, it doesn't really matter in the slightest. In terms of the capabilities and performance of this rig, I should note that I actually had to film, build, and then film all again in a single day, and then the PC sadly left the building. So benchmarks are just a little bit light this time around, but should still give you quite a good idea. Because playing ultra-wide at 3840 by 1600, we're smashing way past the 60 FPS barrier in PUBG, Fortnite, Apex, all with super smooth gameplay and visuals that are oh so impressive. If you're playing at 4K, then obviously these numbers will be slightly lower, but I'd wager that most of you guys will probably be playing at 1440p or ultra-wide. And as such, you're really going to want to make sure you're using a high refresh rate monitor to really get the most out of this.
Hey, just wanted to give a massive shout out to Marcus for building my PC. As you can see, she's looking absolutely great. I can't wait to start streaming on her. If you'd like to go and give me a check out, I'll be on twitch.tv/SuperstarFlec. See you there.
So this was Carl's new gaming PC, and a video that was really awesome to plan, especially when you get to spend someone else's money. I highly advise doing it sometime with their permission, of course. We don't advise going out and buying parts for someone without their knowledge. Though I did do that once technically with Amazon Alexa. I ordered someone a 1080 Ti and Alexa's now just come on. She's going to freak out in a minute. Point being though, that you can find all of the parts to this down in the description below. Check out current pricing, all of that usual stuff. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it, and it helps out so much you wouldn't believe. Same goes for sharing. If you know anyone that is after a gaming PC, all of that stuff really helps out. Would really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you so much for checking out this video. Go and check out Carl's channel. I'm sure he would appreciate that as well, and you can watch what this thing is actually capable of. And I will stop rambling now. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.